The Slit-Mouthed Woman, Kuchisake-onna, Japan. On the outskirts of a quiet Japanese village, hidden beneath the shadows of the forested hills, legends of the Kuchisake-onna, or Slit-Mouthed Woman, have been whispered for generations. She was said to be the vengeful spirit of a beautiful woman, wronged in life and cursed to wander, seeking validation for her beauty and revenge on anyone who looked upon her with fear. The villagers spoke of her with hushed voices. She wore a long, tattered coat, her face obscured by a surgical mask. It was always the same story. She would approach her victims in dark alleys or dimly lit streets, asking them a simple, unsettling question: "Am I beautiful?" Once, many years ago, a young woman named Aiko moved to the village to escape the chaotic life in Tokyo. She loved the tranquility of her new home, a place far removed from the noisy streets and glaring lights of the city. One evening, as she walked home from the local market, she noticed the street unusually deserted. The air felt thick, stifling, and heavy with an inexplicable sense of dread. As she turned a corner, a figure emerged from the shadows. The woman wore a long, dark coat, her face hidden beneath a mask. Her eyes glinted beneath the dim streetlight, staring intently at Aiko. "Am I beautiful?" she asked, her voice soft but haunting. Aiko froze. She'd heard of the Kuchisake-onna before, though she'd always brushed it off as mere folklore. But here she was, standing before her, this woman who seemed to radiate an otherworldly chill. Aiko took a deep breath, trying to muster her courage. "Yes, you're very beautiful," she replied, forcing a gentle smile, hoping that a kind answer would appease the spirit. The woman slowly reached up, pulling down her mask to reveal a horrifically disfigured face. Her mouth was slit from ear to ear, a twisted smile carved into her cheeks, revealing rows of jagged teeth. Blood-stained flesh framed her lips, glistening in the moonlight. "Even now," she hissed, her voice dripping with a venomous intensity. Aiko felt her blood run cold. She tried to look away, but the woman's eyes held her captive. Panic surged through her, and she stumbled backward, stammering, I don't do it, please." The Kuchisake-onna took a step closer, her eyes narrowing. Aiko had heard stories of what came next, how, if one answered with anything but a definitive yes, they would meet a gruesome fate, their faces slashed open to mimic the spirit's own disfigurement. But if they answered yes too quickly, the spirit would interpret their answer as a lie and take her vengeance all the same. Desperate, Aiko remembered a story an elder woman in the village had once told her. Some claimed the Kuchisake-onna could be distracted if given money or sweets. Trembling, she fumbled through her bag, pulling out a piece of candy she'd bought for her little sister. She held it out to the woman, her hand shaking. "Please," she whispered, "take this." The woman's eyes flickered to the candy, and for a moment, her hand paused mid-air. Aiko held her breath, hoping this small gesture would be enough. The Kuchisake-onna stared at the candy for what felt like an eternity, her grotesque smile frozen, her eyes unblinking. Then, slowly, she reached out, her bony fingers curling around the sweet treat. Aiko took the opportunity to back away, never breaking eye contact. When she was a safe distance away, she turned and sprinted, her heart pounding as she fled through the empty streets. She could feel the woman's gaze boring into her back, feel the cold shadow following her footsteps. When Aiko reached her home, she slammed the door shut, locking it behind her. She leaned against it, gasping for breath, her mind racing. She stayed there for hours, listening to the silence outside, afraid to sleep, afraid to turn off the lights. Days passed, and Aiko went on with her life, though haunted by the memory of that night. She told no one about her encounter, fearing they would think her mad. But the legend continued to ripple through the village, passed down by those who had heard stories of others encountering the spirit. People spoke of a mysterious woman in a surgical mask, wandering the streets, asking her eerie question. Over time, Aiko began to notice strange things. She'd catch glimpses of shadows moving in her peripheral vision, hear soft whispers when she was alone. She knew it was her, that cursed spirit, lurking just beyond sight, always watching, waiting. One evening, as Aiko closed her eyes, a familiar voice echoed in her mind, soft and deadly, "Am I beautiful?" Chills crept down her spine as she lay in the dark, and she realized then that the Kuchisake-onna would never leave her. No matter where she went, no matter how far she ran, the spirit would follow. Her fate was sealed.